Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by one Kendrick Lamar.
Woo!
18 songs, an hour and 13 minutes long. Few are allowed. You can do it. It's a double album. It's a pretty listenable double album, to say the least.
Yeah, very true.
And let's just go into it. Kendrick Lamar literally needs no introduction. We did a Kendrick Lamar bonus about him. Let's just dig into it. It's good. It's just damn good.
I don't even know where the fuck to begin. So we took our time because I got to listen to this a few times, and I got to talk to a couple people about it, and two people who are really big Kendrick fans. One person at my gym, another person that I know at my school and everything. They said that this is very quickly becoming one of their favorite Kendrick albums. Tanisha at my gym, shout out Tanisha. She listens to us. She said that this is up there now with Good Kid, Mad City. Good Kid, Mad City's like number one, but this is very quickly could be number two in her eyes because of just how good it is. Kendrick really is in a league of his own when it's, especially with this record, there are so many different themes, so many different stuff that he went into, and just it's unbelievable. The career that he's had, the trajectory that he's had, he took his time with this record, and it shows because there isn't one misstep really. There isn't really one thing that's out of place, even for a double record. It doesn't feel long. Every song, it works. It flows very well together. Even the little interludes, all of the features, everybody who's on the record, everybody flows well together. And the storytelling that is in this record is incredible. And that's something that I love. And I feel like we lack a bit in rap and trap sometimes, and the past couple of years is the storytelling. We get some guys like Vince Staples is pretty good at storytelling. 21 could be at times here or there, but a lot of the times, it's really lackluster. But this is just such a good storytelling record, and I love that. I love it for that.
I'll go a step further. Yeah, you're right. Kendrick's on a league of his own, but most rappers don't try.
No,
full stop.
God, no.
Period. We review so much crap on here, basically just giving new up and coming rappers, ones that have gotten a lot of press that I believe is nonsense and manufactured, ones that I believe are up and coming that have gotten play on social media, and we try to give them the benefit of the doubt, and they're all pretty much garbage. Then there's a little upper echelon of rappers that have come out of the 2010s, and they're doing a lot better. They're really impressing us from what they're doing, and they're so much better than the just mass scale of garbage that we give them their due. And then there's this, which is even higher than all of the bullshit, sort of Kanye stuff that you get every once or twice every year or so. Better than all the Drake stuff that feels fully fake. You can't really understand it. It's way too poppy and overdone. And better than the J. Cole would sometimes just I felt like the last album, while it was okay, it just didn't have any longevity value to me. And his best stuff, I think, is pretty much well behind him, at least right now. I hope that's not the case for J. Cole, but I've seen a couple, one or two or three lackluster projects in the past couple years. So I don't know. Kendrick, league of his own. Not everything I love in here. I don't love everything in here. And I even think some of the pacing could have been improved, but I love the layout of everything. This isn't going to be one of those situations where people go, oh no, but if you play it backwards, it actually does something. Maybe, I don't know. I think it does play well on shuffle, definitely. But the way it plays through, the stories it tells, the way that Kendrick is more vulnerable than he's been before. And also, yes, he's definitely one of those rappers that's seen as preachy and political and all those other different things. And that's still here. He can sound pretentious and saying I am not your savior, he's not your savior. Or at the very end in Mirror when he says, I chose me, as though anyone's saying, no, Kendrick, we didn't choose you to be the savior. You're not you're an entertainer, you're a celebrity. If anything, you complaining about people not listening to you is part of the your problem, right? So some of that stuff is still there, but you also go ahead.
But I mean, at the same time, he's a giant rapper, and rappers have egos, so it's a thing. Like something I'm not gonna fault him for because every rapper thinks they're the best. So it's a thing in the genre and in the way it's done. So which is
Yeah.
something that I'm honestly, even like for people that I don't necessarily enjoy much, I will never like really hold that against them. Also on the Sean YG Better or Not scale, YG isn't even in the same planet as
YB.
this. Like I don't even
I
YB.
mean,
Why
well,
is it
also
YB?
YG.
Also YG. Well, YG isn't not even on the same planet, but YB not even remotely close.
Yeah, YB is in the core of the earth compared to Kendrick.
Yeah. But I have to keep that alive because it's 2022, and that's what I have to. I have to do it. I have to do it every year, or every album, every rap album this year. I actually want to have the YB scale. I need to like go back and actually look at the YB scale and end of the year and just like
Have a
rank by the
spreadsheet.
YB. Have a spreadsheet and there's the line of YB better and YB not better and see who makes the cut.
It's
That's
actually
gonna
pretty.
take me
It's
so.
actually pretty. It's actually pretty easy to like. I mean, all I need to do is just look at the list in the podcast descriptions. 'Cause that's what I do most of the time, and
Yeah,
it's an easy scale. Just better, not better. Zeros and
yeah,
ones,
exactly.
baby.
Better not better. And just do. And we see, and then we
Um,
rank and have a fight to
and
the
yeah,
death.
we'll actually be able to rank how many things we listen to where YB is like
Is
better or
better.
not better. And
Where
it's
is
really
YB on the scale of Audioface?
the Audioface YB index, sponsored by DJ Academics. Just
Oh
kidding.
God,
Just kidding. We have no interest in those legal issues. Anyways,
please
um,
can't afford another one.
so United in Grief would be disc 1, and that's how that starts. And
And then
yeah,
Count Me Out is where disc 2 starts.
yes, because Spotify and mobile still doesn't actually show you, which is ridiculous. And also we noticed this is for other random reasons. We're able to listen to this on different platforms. Usually, we're both listening
Oh,
to
yep.
Spotify, but Sean was listening to it on Apple Music, and we noticed certain differences within that, and we'll get to that very shortly because that's interesting. But I really want to get into the
Very
songs
interesting.
themselves.
Yep.
United
Do
in
it.
Grief kind of starts things, and 95 kicks things off with Kendrick kind of getting really, really kind of loud and giving you what you're expecting. Like he's going in really hard. It's a really loud beat. I'd say there are a lot of beats that are kind of like Damn, very minimal, but still loud and intense. It
Yeah,
almost gets to
definitely,
Kanye
definitely.
levels. Yeah, almost gets to Kanye levels at times with like making use of the vocals and sort of like the
Oh,
grandiosity
yeah.
of it. Which again, I allow. Kendrick's one of those upper echelon rappers, and like the production and the bars never stop for a different minute. You get 5 or 6 different flows within this album. So much so that I thought that he was like a different artist in different parts of these things. But like it's nothing is ever there. Worldwide Steppers, I think, does it really great with almost like a Mad Lib sounding beat. Like it's so
Mhm.
nice because it's
It's so
sounds like
understated. It's so cool.
yeah, and does like a little like jazz interlude in the middle. It's so fun. Like you
Old jazz
really
standard.
quality. Watch, take notes. This is what it looks like when you do quality in an album,
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
a
and
rap
it's
album
just
mainly.
yeah, and the thing too with all these tracks, Worldwide Steppers in '95, Die Hard, you get a picture. He's painting a picture in your mind, and you can visualize what he's talking about. You can visualize like in Worldwide Steppers, him talking about his Good Kid, Mad City tour and everything, and all this stuff, and you can imagine all the stuff that's going through and whatnot. And it's really cool the way he pictures that. You can picture that with it. It feels like you're almost reading a book, which I really like, and that means you're really telling a story through and through to where you can relate to it, and everybody will have some type of thing that they can put their own life into and put yourself in his shoes, which I'll
Yeah,
get to more in a little bit too.
this is one of the best storytelling albums, like one of the best new storytelling albums since like Eminem was really, really going at it. Like
Yeah.
it feels that complete, like it feels that strong. I
Hmm.
think Father Time is one of those like you really start to get into Kendrick like being more vulnerable than he has in different ways, talking about
100%.
how
Yep.
his lack of relationship with his father, kind of typical tropes of just manning up and not showing you're going through pain or issues like that,
Yep.
leads to and also plants the seed like it leads to what in Kendrick's life is misunderstanding or lack of understanding when people have these moments of forgiveness or of letting that guard down, leads to as far as the story goes and in his life planting the seed for generational trauma that he's then passing on to his kids
Hmm.
and having within his
Yep.
family. It makes sense in the narrative of the album because that seed is something that is visited towards later, but it's also, like a song in isolation on its own, a moment it's just an incredibly vulnerable moment.
Yes. And then like you have the rich interlude, and rich spirit kind of gets you like with the way it's done, it's gets you kind of like pumped back up because of how intense Father Time is and Die Hard are. Like it kind of gets you like flowing back. Okay, this is Kendrick, going back, going a little bit harder with it too. Um, I really like the placement of all the tracks too. Like everything has a purpose for being there, and everything flows together well. So that way, when you're left, um, really like crying, basically, like when you have Crown in a little bit, you put something up next so that way you could get through this record. So that way it's not just, just too much deep, just too much like stuff to where you can't like sit through this record. He pops the songs to where you can get through one track where you can barely really listen to it because it's really emotional, but the next track can pick you up that little bit, or it could just change the mood so that way you're not just always deep in your feelings the whole time. And that's something that I like because it's a really giant roller coaster of emotions. It doesn't just stay at one level. It goes just insane with how much it really pulls on your heartstrings throughout it, and it feels genuine. Every track feels genuine, which is something that I don't think many rap and trap artists have been able to do the past decade, really. So
That's such a good point. Um, yeah, a lot of artists. I mean, I think the last time I was as surprised by like a rapper's vulnerability might have been 21 Savage's "A Lot,"
yeah,
because
yeah,
that was just like a
exactly.
major shift in like
Like
a
ball without you, like that track,
yeah,
just it pulls on your heartstrings, and that's one of the things I said earlier. Like 21 is another rapper that he can really get into his feelings, and it feels genuine. Like, and the
yeah.
stuff of his life, and you hear him in interviews and everything, like, oh, he's really like, this is shit really happened to him, losing, family members, losing his brother, all that stuff, and how it really pulls you down as a person, and you have to figure out ways to cope with it, ways to deal with it, and to be able to make yourself a better person and not just, drown in the sorrows, which is very difficult to do.
What was your favorite from the first half?
From the first half is Father Time. Father Time, I really like a lot.
I could probably say the same thing. Like there are certain songs like like there's my banger songs on here. Like there's Worldwide Steppers I really like.
In
I think
95,
Rich Spirits really good. N95, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. N95 is a great like workout song, like running song, all
oh,
that kind of stuff.
100%.
You gotta love Purple Hearts, that little Summer Walker Ghostface Killer action.
Yeah, it's really good too. I love how
we,
it's
we,
done. It's
no, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say it's a longer song too. I think it might be the longest on the record or second longest after We Cry Together. Yeah, about and or at least on this first half. But it doesn't feel long. Everything is just it's great. All like Summer Walker, Ghostface Killer go together really well. It's the production's incredible on it. It's a really good track.
Yeah, and a couple other things before we go to part two, because I just like have to mention them. Number one, just like listen to this record like on your own. We encourage you to go through it, like have these
Yes,
moments, have these
please.
experiences. Um, Number two, usually we go through like different features and all these different things, and features are generally really sparse because of course Kendrick is telling a story and he can carry the album on his own.
Mhm.
But during the interludes, you get really different rappers like Kodak Black, Baby Keem, sort of rapping, but really just doing spoken word poetry in some
Spoken
of the
word.
best ways both of them have ever done it. But yeah, it's otherwise pretty sparse here. Really great performances for a lot of the female vocalists, specifically, especially in We Cry Together with Taylor Page,
Hmm.
which is meant to mimic sort of like the cycle of fighting in relationships and then making up, and how that sort of toxicity just continues and plays
Yeah.
out, and how that opens and displays in both sides, but especially in the male side because it's meant to be Kendrick and Taylor Page representing Kendrick's wife at the time, or like
Hmm.
like that,
Yeah.
like female sort of like figure in that moment.
Hmm.
But listen to the song, listen to the whole thing. It's incredible. That's just disc one, which
And then disc two.
I don't even know which disc is my favorite yet. Like,
Disc two is definitely my favorite by far because that's my
hmm,
two favorite tracks on the record, three favorite tracks on the whole record. But it starts off with "Count Me Out," which is honestly a good little breaker to get you into disc two. It's like it starts off with a little like uh, just the vocal parts and stuff for the last little bit or first little bit, and then it enters into the rapping and throughout it, and like the little the beats and stuff, and it kind of swaps halfway through as well. Gets you into it where you can feel a little bit more trappy at points. You can feel a little bit more like normal production, and you can feel, oh, okay, this might be a little bit quicker than the other one, and it definitely feels that in certain ways. But the interesting thing is the second,
Oh
second
wait, I can
track.
also say that "Count Me Out" is like the one that invokes the most Kanye to me. Like, especially that second half of the production.
That and Mr. Morale, but more on that later.
Yeah.
Wow, but I have a point on that. But it definitely, yeah, I could feel that for Count Me Out. And then there's Crown. It's
Yeah.
fucking incredible. Just unbelievable. Like, this shit gives me goosebumps. Just, man, makes you cry. It's if you really listen to the lyrics, it's hard to listen to. Like, it's beautiful. It's like unbelievably well made in the way that it'll entrap you into feeling emotions that you didn't really know you could have in a record.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just such an impressive track. I can't say enough how good it is.
It does a lot about like recounting grief, recounting like pain and suffering, and like what you're doing to other people. Kind of like
Hmm.
with that ending, you can't please everybody, and like
I love that.
I remember having a very like, wow, this is a very eerie feeling as well. Like me not counting, like I remember going in like, okay, 9-9 for Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which
Mhm.
if you want to be real about it, should be called the Big Steppers and Mr. Morale,
Yeah,
chronologically speaking. But you know,
right.
it sounds better as Mr. Morale. But like it's I would have thought the Crown was the beginning because it feels like that almost reset that opening thing that begins into a
Hmm.
softer, kind
Hmm.
of deeper, darker part two, which I definitely will say
Which
I do like part two more because it is deeper, it's a little bit
it's
darker.
darker. It's really pulls on your strings, and
Yeah.
Crown really like encapsulates that. But this is what I love about this record is the track he puts right after that is Silent Hill. Get these bitches off
Put
me
these
like,
bitches me like, push these niggas off me like,
like,
rest in face, twist them face, twist like,
I
yo.
love that he put Silent Hill right after Crown because Crown literally makes you want to cry. It gets you into these feels, but then Silent Hill picks you right back up and it just gets you something of like, oh yes, I fucking love rap. Oh my gosh, this is what I live for sometimes. I love
Is
doing this goddamn podcast. Yeah.
yeah, it will rap at its best, which this is, will make you feel like every emotion possible.
It really will, and it's just like Silent Hill's a banner. I feel like this is now our goon shit song for the whole year. Like this is
Yeah.
when we go to we see each other, just like that's our shit, and I love it.
It's it's so
It,
funny. And
it
then you get into another favorite one. He is not your savior. And
so
like, yeah.
first off, the interlude. I so that my problem with Baby Keem usually is sometimes his vocals and his voice can get a little whiny sounding, but I really like his production and whatnot and his lyrics more or less. But in the interlude, I really, really like how he sounds. And if Savior interlude and the way he's doing like this like half spoken word thing, I think that's something that he needs to tap into more on his own and even some of his features and whatnot, because I really like the way it sounded. I was kind of impressed by it. But then going into actually the track Savior, oh, I love that. I love that beginning. And here's the interesting part. So the Spotify version of Savior, when he's saying, Future said get a money counter, but he's not your savior. All of those little bits, there's a little drum in the background on top of the piano. It goes do 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 do, and that's going over that little first like 20-25 seconds or so, and then it starts up the main vocals of the track.
Yeah,
In
very
Apple
basic kind
Music,
of layering that it was a very basic kind of layering that you would do in a song, just to like make it
yeah,
feel like something.
yeah, but the Apple Music version of Savior, it's just a piano. It doesn't have the little drums and the layering for the first opening 20-30 seconds of the track like the Spotify version does. And I found that very interesting because when I listened to it on Apple Music, I was like, wait, why does it sound different? And then I went to Spotify, I'm like, these are two different versions of the same song. And I'm very interested in to see why that is. I actually like the Spotify version more because I like the little drums because the Apple Music version of Savior feels a little naked at the beginning. It feels like it needs to have a little bit more pizzazz for that first little 30 seconds for him saying he is not your savior and all of that because it flows a little bit better after the interlude. So just I caught that, and I thought that was very interesting. And I want you guys to say what you think too. But anyways, track is incredible. It is one of my favorite rap songs I've ever done on this podcast. I have listened to it about 48,000 times in the past week. The lyrics of it are just, there's like so many damn good lyrics to go through it. Like, I mean, at the beginning, obviously, like, Cole made you feel empowered, but he's not your savior. All the like saying that, putting false hope into people you don't know, putting these expectations of people that you don't know and all these stuff. And I like that because people do that all the time. And it's just, there's, I don't even know where to begin on that other than that. But like,
I
he
think you
goes
just
off
put it
talking about,
perfectly.
yeah, but then he goes about, talking about COVID, talking about, um, like all the politics and everything. And this is stuff that we live for. So like, example, seen a Christian say the vaccine mark of the beast. Then he caught COVID and he prayed to Pfizer for relief. Then I caught COVID and started to question Kyrie. Will I stay organic or hurt in this bed for 2 weeks? Fantastic.
Yeah,
It's just
and
like,
he
yeah,
has this, but he also in that Baby Keem lyric and other references saying like I've been dodging the pandemic, I've been dodging social gimmicks. He's also has
yep,
had this like critical aspect to a lot of the
yep,
other aspects of COVID-19 that have brought people to be a little bit
yep.
like intense about it. So he's got a really mature approach to it. Um Speaking of mature approaches, Auntie Diaries, I just have to go into that. Like
Yeah, yeah. Well,
it's
I want one more lyric before
okay,
Anti
yeah.
Diaries, and this because I'm nominating this lyric for my the No Name Woke Award. Capitalist posing as compassionate to be offending me. Bar,
Yeah. The
bar.
There's some stuff all over this that I'm going to have to like
But
re-nominate back for
and then
like
Auntie Diaries is an entire track. The entire fucking track needs to be also for the No Name Woke Award because Auntie Diaries is unbelievable as well.
yeah, and again, it's a area of growth I was not expecting to see from Kendrick Lamar in a lot of
No.
different ways. So, first of all, it's like my auntie is a man now, kind of referencing just like
Yep.
it's a song about like gender transformation in like black culture and hood culture. And so I said that very
Demetrius is
specifically
Marianne
because
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's sort of how Kendrick was sort of learning how to reconcile this and go about how saying, oh, using the F word slur for gay people
Yep.
was something we would just throw around in school all the time, which totally happens and still
Yep.
happens this day, sadly. But now you understand this, you understand these kind of people are. But the last lyric, which I'm just gonna like
Oh my god,
basically read,
yes.
because it's basically on the one hand, it's saying how the first part of the lyric, I'm gonna sum it up because it's just like really great. You gotta listen to it yourself. The first part of the last verse is Kendrick going, "Okay, we're supposed to love thy neighbor, but you're telling us
Mhm.
to hate all these things." That was when I decided. The lyric is that day I chose humanity over religion, and that's kind
Mhm.
of just the big idea that if your religion can't include humanity, then that's the time to make the kind of decision because
Yeah.
that's usually against what most religions have said, and that's all those different things. And said, the last one is said that the last lyric is basically about how it's kind of flipping it back on Kendrick. How okay, we can all use these words all the time or whatever, but next time a white girl is saying the word nigga on stage at one of your concerts, Kendrick, now you're gonna act a little bit differently because you've now been humbled in this kind of situation too.
Mhm.
Which I think
Like,
was like an incredible sort
it
of
was
like
incredible lyric.
because that's something Sean you criticized him about too.
Self-reflection. Yeah,
Yeah,
100% criticizing about. Yeah, when it happened, and that's a great self-reflection and saying, "You know what? Yeah, I own it." He owns it, and I love that line. I love Anti Diaries in general as a track because kind of relating it to your own yourself. Everybody has that black sheep of the family and whatnot, and people deal with it in different ways, and it kind of broadens your horizons in certain ways, and and you can tell from there who's a good like who's a genuine person and who is not. Because it can change you for the better, it can change you for the worse. You can have your own prejudices against them. You can form your own judgments, or you can accept people for who they are and whatnot, and that happens all the time in families. And I love that because everybody can relate to that. It doesn't necessarily need to be gender, going if someone's LGBTQ plus or whatever. It can just be someone's different, completely different, and you accept them for who they are, or you don't, or you keep your prejudices and everything. And I love that on there. So Um, yeah,
Yeah,
and there's a
it's
couple funny
it
lines in Auntie Diaries, but it's a good damn good track.
yeah, it's not the same level of bold as say like Lil Nas X or other like trans rappers who are slowly coming up there who are actually living these experiences and then talking
Yeah,
about it.
naturally.
But it's still just as important for
Yeah.
rappers who are at that big of a stature who have this much like street cred with straight male bravado like
Yep.
black men in the community to like check them every once in a while and show that Kendrick can also learn from that as well. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mr. Morale, we don't need to go too much because this is a long ass review, but I know Mr. Morale like has the most Kendricky sounding thing that you were talking
It
about.
so
Sorry,
this also has two
Kanye sounding thing you were
Kanye
sounding
thing
about.
because at the
Yeah.
beginning, where he goes, he kind of like yells into, he goes, ah, ah, ah. It reminds me of old Kanye, and I was like, oh fuck yes, this is also one of my favorite tracks too because again, he puts it right after Auntie Diaries. He gets you in the face of it after a really feely song. I love it. It's a really good track. And then Mother I Sober and Mirror to end it off the record because this has been a long ass review, but it deserves it. Great to end the record. I really like Mirror. It's like a self-reflection but and owning who you are, owning, you know, find that that towing the line between being being between self-confident and cocky, and towing that line and being able to be so self-confident that you almost look as if you're cocky, but you know yourself to that limit and where you are on that. And that's what I said. I love that. I chose me. I'm sorry. That keeps going over and over again, and I love that line to end the record. It's very, very pertinent to Kendrick as an artist and to this record as a whole.
Yeah, Mother I Sober is the kind of culmination. It's a great again, it's great as a musically and production wise as a second to last song, and it also is the culmination of Kendrick basically absolving himself of both acknowledging his flaws because the album is ultimately about how he has this like persona and bravado about he hasn't really gotten into other major addictions or other major like issues, but what his addiction was sex addiction and love addiction after fame
Yep.
and how it started
Yep.
to be completely incompatible with his family and his relationships, how it started to bring together his past with his father and his mother and all of those
Yep.
unresolved traumas. Mother I Sober is basically that kind of proclamation. It's an acknowledgement of all of those things and how the most patient women in his life had to carry him through that, his both his wife and his mother. And then how he finally got help, went to therapy, started acknowledging these things, working through these things. There's
Which is
another lyric
great.
either here somewhere else where he was just like, I wrote nothing for 2 years because I had writer's block because just nothing felt great. Now you're hearing it now. It's just this beautiful thing. And it's
Pretty sure it's a
I
Mother Sober. It's love
it,
it.
nothing is more audio faced than acknowledging the true artistic process of how music should be done within your
Mm-hmm.
wonderful masterpiece of an album. Typically, every artist we acknowledge who does this has done this before, at least in one lyric. So there you go. And yeah, we just spilled out all of our thoughts on this record. We did a preview. We did 2 preview videos about this. Um, Overall, it's one of the best ones. Definitely one of the best. Definitely the best rap album I have heard in at least a year, maybe 2. I can't name the best one I've heard since then, but I don't want to get controversial here just off the cuff right now, but this is great. I recommend it. You will
Yeah.
like it, and you better like it because these songs are going to be played for the next 10 years.
Oh yeah, this is gonna stand the test of time. I think it really will. Sitting on this in a week and a half. Yeah, I think. Yeah, these songs
Yeah.
will really will
Perhaps the
turn the
only
tide. So.
disappointment is that Kendrick is going to take his sweet ass time.
Yeah, as he should,
He
because
has
going
absolutely
from Damn to this, it's such an evolution in his sound too. He's really maturing out, and as we always like to say in Audioface, change and do something fucking different. And he did. It does not sound like Damn. It does not sound like To Pimp a Butterfly. It doesn't sound like Good Kid, Mad City.
yeah,
It's totally different.
it's
This sounds like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
bravo. Great
Bravo,
job, dude.
fucking great.
Arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales every single week on our on Audioface because our review, our 25-minute long review, plus it stands for what it is, and putting a number on that is kind of dumb, except for this number because this is also the anniversary of 5 years of us doing this here podcast, video show thing, whatever it is. So we're going to rank using the 5 years of Audioface. there might be some overlap, so that might be the rare time you could actually compare albums. So
Mhm.
hey, look, we gave you one. But I'm gonna give this my favorite year of Audioface, which I want to say was like 2018.
God damn it! I say I'm
2018?
gonna. This is my favorite year of Audioface, 2018, for a couple of reasons. One, because Bird. Um, two, because two of my favorite records we've ever reviewed on Audioface came out in that year: Tranquility Base Hotel Casino and A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, respectively. And that was one of my favorite years of music in a long time. 2022 is very quickly becoming one of my favorite years of music in a long time as well. Yeah, this is 2018. God damn it.
Yeah, I loved because I think that was the year we started video. Because
Yes. Yep.
I remember for the 1975 reaction having, because it was like, it was one of those times where as an editor I had to be humble and go like, oh, this is me having an embarrassing moment where I have to not only admit that Sean is right on video, I think literally in the same sweater, but then make a clip of it and then repost it to get people to listen to said podcast where I have egg on my face. So it's a very visceral viral
Yeah.
moment from
Yep.
Audioface that I remember, but it was I truly acknowledge it because the only thing that made it funny or like enjoyable was seeing your laugh every single time of being right, because I know that smug feeling and it's really good. It's my heroin.
I'm still riding on that high 4 years later, to be fair.
All right, I get you. Anyways, you can help grow this 5-year long podcast by following Audioface Pod on Twitter or Instagram. Please subscribe. Please. YouTube.com/audiofacepod videos are up very often once we're back from our properly long vacation in the middle of June. We'll be back pretty much every single day. So subscribe so you'll get new videos there. Follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Rate us 5 stars if you're on Apple Podcasts. Hey Sean, you're gonna have to do that now. Um,
I'm doing that right now. Oh god, how do you do this?
Well, we'll figure that out while I'm reading the plugs,
Mhm.
which I'm almost done doing. And yeah, tell people about the show. Tell people that you've been listening to a show that has been around for 5 years, that has been reviewing new music every single week. It keeps you updated without having to sift through all of the crap. It's relatively entertaining. They have Mr. Morale, and the people who cross them get big stepped, maybe. um, and we do just a whole bunch of stuff on this podcast. It's really fun. We have different bonus episodes that we're going to be doing more of in the future. This has just been an onslaught of a year, and I'm glad that people have been enjoying it with us. So help us grow the community.